right, I forgot to mention last time that we do have a little bit of this in the yellow book, but it needs some serious updating. On sort of 2/3 of the way into the book, the numbering starts at 1 again. Because I didn't have the originals to change the page number. I just had to slap it together for the printers. Numeration systems, past and present. We're not doing Egyptian. Interesting as it is, we don't see the relevance today, so I don't bother with those. There's a little bit of Roman. Again, it's not as complete as it should be, so look at it or just use your class notes, doesn't matter. Babylonian system on that page 4. It's not exactly how they're written either. So read that or don't. Our class notes will eventually replace this. I just haven't gotten around to that. And also, when you look at the additional examples, there are some typos that I will fix right after this class in terms of how the thousands are written. That was an older version. And then I discovered with a little bit of research that they don't write the I in the thousands. But we changed it in class, but I forgot to change it in the solutions. So I'll do that as soon as we're done here. I think I'm going to go and make the statement that today is my favorite class. I hope you feel the same. What are we doing today? We're doing arithmetic. With a twist. We're going to do arithmetic in the Roman number system. That means when I have something like, whatever, when I have something like CCCIX plus VII, you can't convert them to decimal and then add them up and convert them back. That is cheating. We're not going to cheat. We're going to add them in this number system like they would. If this is in a test, and it will be, not plus necessarily, but one of them. If I see on your paper, where this is the question, any decimal numbers, for everyone I just start subtracting. So it can't be any decimal numbers. That's not the point of the question. The question is to do it like the Romans do it. Now I don't know if they had this symbol, but that's our plus symbol, so that's okay. So how would we do it? Well, first of all, how would we do it with decimal numbers? I would line them up. This is still a decimal system in a way. So I would line them up. This would be the hundreds, and there are no tens, and those are the ones, the units. Plus the 7. So I can't help but think decimal. That's how we speak. It's our language in a sense, where this was their language. So when we think of quantities, just like they had their names, we have our names 9 and 7. We can't not think like that. We just can't write it. So if I say I have a quantity that we say 9, 4, and I have a quantity that we say 7. 9 plus 7 is? 16. So that means I have a 6 here and a 10. That's in the tens column. There's nothing else in the tens column. So that is the only one. And there's nothing to be added to my 300. So there is my number. So it's extremely similar to how we would add numbers. Column for the hundreds, column for the tens, column for the ones. It's the same. It's the same. I'm just not writing decimal digits. I'm writing Roman numerals. So there's no No decimal numbers anywhere on the board for the rest of the lecture. Let's do, not sure why I started with the hard one. Let's do this one. My list is not in the correct order. C, so I'll write it here first, because that's what the question would have. And then I have to know, well, let's put it in columns and figure this out. So I have the hundreds, the tens, and the ones. Maybe these days we call it units, whatever. And I'm adding the 10 here and the units there. I'm adding my algorithm, my method for addition is the same. Right to left because I'm writing. Yes.
Will we get numbers into the thousands on the test, or will it really just be the
I'm just starting with a little example. You could get thousands, yes.
Okay.
So we'll do one next. The units column, 5 and 7 is 12. So there's a 2 left, and the 10 in 12 goes to the tens column. I have 110 here, I have 60 there, I have another 10, so that is 80. Nothing rolls over to the hundreds, and there's my number. Isn't that fun? Now let's take something bigger. Take a second and put them in the right columns. Line them up correctly. Now the Romans didn't have an empty placeholder, so everything is just sort of merged together. Like here, no, not like here. If I don't have anything in the tens column, they would just put the hundreds next to the units. So it's a little different, so you have to line them up correctly. That's step one. Line up the thousands, line up the hundreds, line up the tens, line up the units. So I have the thousands column here, then I have the hundreds, then I have the tens, then I have the ones, units. Next one has a thousands place as well, a couple of hundreds, there is the tens, and there are a couple of ones. Everyone happy with the lining up? I don't want to go too fast. Line everything up. Now my method for written arithmetic is right to left. Makes sense. So I have 6 here, and another 2, that is 8, and I'm still within that column. Nothing rolls over to the other column, so everything's good. Stop me throughout this lecture, stop me if you're not sure about anything, because we're not writing down a lot. Then I have how many here? 90 plus 50. Is 140. So 100 rolls over and 40 is left. See why you had to review Roman numerals? Because now it's important. I'm building on it. How many hundreds am I adding here? I have 1. I have 6 more. That's 700, 800, 900. Oh, not quite. Not quite rolling over to the next column. 900 fits nicely in my hundreds column. Everyone happy with that? And then I have two, that's not the best example, not a lot of rolling over. Huh? 2,000 and 7,000. Nothing even changes with my symbols. So that wasn't hard. I don't think that was hard. Any questions on addition? I just want to get through them all and then we can do as many examples as we can fit in. Next up is what's next? After addition comes subtraction. I'll do a little one first. CLXB minus I. Whoa. Whoa. A little too excited. Now the chalk is stuck. IX. Step one, line it up. Line it up. I have 100. I have an L that's in the tens, and I have, oops, X as well. LX is the tens, and a B for the units. And I'm taking away just a small little number. Small little number. Luckily, my algorithm, my method, my recipe for subtraction is the same. As you learned it, where do you learn this first? Grade, I don't know. Early. I don't know, I'll just wildly guess. 4, 3, I don't know. Keeps changing, so who knows? I need to check if the bottom number is bigger than the top. In this case it is, so I need to go borrow a 10 so that I have enough. So this 10 I'm going to borrow and essentially move to the units column. Now I have 15. You can put it over here if you want. I have 15 and I'm taking away 9. How much do I have? 7. No, 6. I'm thinking of something else, sorry. That was a trick question. I'm thinking of other things. Things that are coming up. Here I now only have an L. I'm not taking anything away, No one really questioned my 7. I just ran along with it. I sounded so confident, so. Any questions on the borrowing? It's the same. The method is the same. I'm just writing Roman numerals instead of decimal digits. Everything is exactly the same. It's still base 10. Everything is as close to decimal as it could possibly be.
Well, what was nice about one was you just had to take the X.
Yes, fair enough. Fair enough. No, let's change this one. And let's suppose it didn't have an X. I don't think Siri is going to know, but you're welcome to try. No harm in asking. Now I still have to borrow. I'm borrowing 10, but this now becomes 40, which might have a new, slightly different representation. But the quantities are the same, the principle is the same. Now this is a 6, and nothing else is subtracted. So let's do one where there's more subtraction. right, let's try that one. Line it up. Hundreds, tens, units. Hundreds, tens, units. Oh, there's no missing. Watch out for missing numbers. Missing letters. Missing letters. Make sure you write down the whole number, just sectioned, so that it's easier to perform the subtraction. All right. It's nice that I'm still relying on a familiar method. It's the method we all know, we've all done to death, and that makes it a little bit more manageable. So that's good. 9 is too big for 6. So what do? I have to go and borrow this x from the tens column and bring it over so I have a large enough number. Now I have 16 minus 9, see, 7. Everyone happy with that borrowing? Now I have 2 x's here, which is 20, and I'm taking away 70. It's too big. What do? I go and borrow 100. Now I have a big enough number for that column to take away 70. I now have 120, take away 70. What do I have left? 50, which is now. I have 2 hundreds left here. I take away 1, and I'm done. How does that feel? Don't look at me like that. It's fine. We do this, it should be obvious. It's obvious to me. It's so similar. By looking at slightly different representations, I'm being forced to be more aware of how we perform our subtraction in this case. I'm focusing more on the method because it's slightly out of my comfort zone, slightly less familiar. So I really have to think about this borrowing. When we do it in decimal numbers, we don't even think about it anymore. It's just sort of, oh, I move stuff around and I get the answer. We don't really look at it, what we're doing. This forces us to really look. Being different, but not that different. What comes after? Let's do another example. I have another example here. I'm not sure why. Oh, you can do it yourself. We'll still do it. But take like 30 seconds and set it up and see how it feels. As soon as someone has an answer, say it proudly.
XLBI. Alright.
I have no idea.
Yeah,
I don't have the answer. But we're going to do it. We're going to do it. So line up the hundreds, the tens, and the ones. This is just tens and ones. Okay. 5 is too big for ones. So borrow the 10. Now I have 11 minus 5 is 6. Looking good. Now I have nothing there. The x is gone. There's no x anymore. So I have nothing, and I'm taking away 60. I have to borrow 100. Now there's only 100 there. Once I've borrowed it, 100 minus 60, 40. there's nothing else in the hundreds anymore. Does that make sense? Feel okay? Any questions? What comes after subtraction? Multiplication. I'll give you the good news now, we're not doing division. I did division once at VIU. It didn't go over very well. So I said, I'm not doing division again. Multiplication is just souped up additions, really. Just a bunch of additions all together. So I feel it's pretty manageable. X, X, I. I'm going to write times because my times symbol looks like an X. So just to avoid that confusion. Yeah, but then not everyone sees the dot. I'll just write it down. Who knows what word they used for multiplication? Maybe the Latin word for multiplication? Who knows what that is? There's no Latin word for multiplication? Or the concept? There has to be.
Concept.
That was their language, so they had to have a word. Whatever that may be. So what do we do here? Well, let's line them up again. That seemed to work, so I'm going to go with that. And I'll just write my word here. If we want to be really fancy, we can figure out or research what that word would be. What would they write there? But I should probably do my job. Now, one way to do this, there are multiple ways, and of course the less you write down, the more you have to do in your head. So I'm going to take the approach of write down more, so I don't have to really think too much about it. 5 times 3. See how easy that question was? 15. So that means 5 and a 10. Then I go to the next column and I'm going to start over here. Because once I multiply units with the tens, I'm going to get something in tens and beyond. 5 times 20. Oh, hang on, it's so easy. 100. And I'm putting them in the correct columns. There's no tens. It's just 100. So C, so this is going to be a plus, X, B. Now I know for the decimal multiplication, we're so used to it, we take shortcuts and we write down less, but the principle is the same. Maybe we should do one that's a little more complicated. Multiplication is just, can be broken up into addition problems. Let's do a longer one. D, C, C, L, X, X, I, X times, I'm going to stick with the V. I'm going to only do multiplication with a unit number. So it's not going to be bigger than 10. 10 is manageable. Anything up to 9, 10 is also okay, because multiplication by 10 is easy. I'm not going to go bigger than that. Because we're interested in the method, not gonna do big numbers. So I have my hundreds, I have my tens, I have my units, and I'm gonna multiply that with a 5. 5 times 9. I have too many C's? Sorry. That looks better. 5 times 9. 45. So I write down the representation for 45 in the correct columns. Plus 5 times 70. I'm going to start in the tens column. 5 times 70. The 70 doesn't actually matter, it's only the 7. 350. So it's very important that you're able to convert between the two very quickly. I think 350. I can't write 350. 5 times, I may need some more space. 5 times 700. That's 5 times 7 with 2 zeros.
Yeah, this is 300.
That's all it is. So the multiplication is still pretty simple. So 3,500. And I'm lining them up correctly so that the addition is easy. You don't have to line them up correctly, but then when you do the addition, things can get messy. So I'm trying to help myself lay this out in an easy way. So when I'm adding, I have to still do right to left because there could be some rollover. In this case, there might be, yeah. V, this is the only units one. The tens is 40 plus 50. $90. There might be things rolling over, but in this case there isn't. It's just a rewrite of the number. 300 plus 500, that's still good enough to keep me in my hundreds column, and so is this one. So I don't mind if there's spaces in there. It's just easier to keep track of everything. That wasn't so bad. I don't think so. It's just a bunch of additions. Is everyone having fun? I am. I woke up this morning and then I realized, oh, I'm doing arithmetic. Yay. That is actually what happened. After Roman, we did what? Babylonian. So we're going to do the same thing in the Babylonian system. Now I have to do a little bit of a shift. I'm counting in 60s. Let's do a little example. I'm just going to write it once because it's slower to write down than the Roman numbers. Random example. We're adding. Same rules apply. You can't convert to decimal and then later convert back. You have to work in this number system. Keeping in mind that we're working in groups of 60. 60. What is this quantity over here in English? 43. What is this quantity over here in English? 37. 43 plus 37. You can do that on your calculator, you just can't write anything, right? What you do outside of the page, I can't track. 43 plus 37. I heard an 80.
Oh yeah, 80.
80. So it's okay, use your calculator, totally fine. Totally fine. I think we should be able to do that mental arithmetic. We've done addition, but it's okay. 80. Now the rules for Babylonian was, the rule, really only one, that this can only be up to 59. I have 80.
Yeah.
What do I do?
Well, 60 will go.
60 is going to go over. One group of 60. And how much do I have left?
20.
20. Let's just take a pause and let that sink in. This is now, apart from the 60, it's now actually similar in a different way to what we do with decimal numbers, because the guy that I'm carrying over to the next column changes. A 60 in this column is 1 in the next. Because the next group counts groups of 60. So if I have 60 units, it's one group of 60. So that points out another aspect of our decimal system that the Romans didn't do. They just carried the letter over in exactly the same way. Here it changes. And then I'm adding these two. That's no real problem here. There's space to latch on another 1. I don't even have to think about what that number is. Any questions or comments on the carrying over in Babylonian? Yes?
When we do our tests, do we have to do pretty little pictures like you do? Or
That'd be nice,
Yeah.
but I'm not going to be too judgmental.
You can tell what's like the error.
As long as I can tell
Yeah.
3 things. The difference between these two and the space.
Yeah.
It's not a beauty contest in writing, but it'd be nice. You see, the version that I have printed on the examples is different. It's the only font I could find, and it's really small. But you'll get used to it. Yeah, it's the only nice font I can find. That's easy to use. That's not just individual pictures that I have to put together. That's a mess. Any other questions?
Can we do another one?
Yes, we can do another one. Let's do a bigger one. Is this a good one? Oh, so that's way more. How many do I have here? 7 again. That's it for the first number. Next number. This one is 40 again. Trying to make it as hard as possible, right? So then the one you see in the test is actually easy. Can't really make it much more difficult than that. All right, now we just have to go slow. Everything's lined up in the correct columns. Now I have to think, what is this number? 37 plus 44. 37. It's an exercise in mental arithmetic. 37 plus 44. I don't have a calculator.
81.
You don't need a calculator. You have to, the nice thing is yes, or the bad thing is, yes, you have a calculator, so tempting, I could just use it. But if you don't force yourself to practice those little numbers, those calculations, you'll just slowly decline and you can't even do basic ones. I've made the decision. I'm forcing myself. I'm not touching the calculator. If it's 2-digit numbers, I'll figure it out. Because otherwise, your brain is just becoming mush. And that's not good. 81? 81.
Are we not even allowed to write 81 in
No.
our column?
Can you write it in Babylonian if you want?
You can write anything in Babylonian. And we'll do that. You can write Babylonian on the side, for sure. 81.
That you can't.
Sorry?
81 doesn't convert into Babylonian. Or
81 would be 1 group of 60 and 21. which then tells me I'm carrying over 1, and I'm left with 21. You can do that down the side. Now I have my 1, so these together would be 25. 25 plus 41. We don't need a calculator for that. That's not even carrying over. 66. That's easy too, because it's one group of 60 and 6. And 2 for the last one. And I'm done. I'm always just counting 60s. Is the number bigger than 59? Should I take away, carry over a group of 60? And then in the next column, that counts how many of those groups in that column. Questions? Make sense?
Where I was thrown off was, so you've got 3, oh, is that 4 numbers? Where does the
3
the
places.
ones I was doing yesterday, was the 60 squared are not in the first column, are they?
That is 60 squared.
Yes.
They are 60 squared?
Yes.
Okay, so what throws me is, for example, in the center ones, I keep thinking I'm bringing over a 60, that one.
No, but-
It goes back to a 1 unit. And that's where I'm at.
That's the same as ours.
Yeah. I know, you're right.
When I am doing this, okay, that happens to be 1s, 7 1s and carry over the 10.
Yeah.
Now in this one, I'm just counting 1s. I forget where it's actually positioned. 1 plus 4 plus 7. That's 12.
Yeah,
It's not actually 12, it's actually 120.
Yeah.
But I don't need to think of it like that.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same. So I really only count 1s and 10s, 1s and 10s, 1s and 60s. Wherever I am. This could be a huge number. That's all I'm doing. So the method is the same, except for 60s. All right, let's do a subtraction. I want to give time. I have time. Subtraction time. I picked 2 easy subtractions. I don't know why I picked easy ones. Sorry, my 10s are deteriorating over time here. The more I think about the symbols, the worse they get. Sorry, that's not even the right place. It's over here. I'm sorry, that's why you write with pencil. Yeah, those 10s are a little too curvy, but oh well. Yes?
Maybe you always kind of have spaces between.
The spaces should be nice and clear. That guy's too curvy, I don't like it. All right. Subtraction. Same method. Method is the same. The point of these 2 number systems, or doing them, is that it points out, it makes me more aware of our methods, of our decimal system. I'm not doing Egyptian. I'm not doing mine. It's too removed. It doesn't really teach me anything about my decimal system. These 2 do. What happens here? The bottom one is clearly too big for the top. So I need to go and borrow a group of 60. I'm going to borrow 1 group of 60. But as soon as I carry that over, it becomes 60 units. So this 1 becomes 60. Now there's no real way to write 60 because it's not allowed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can just write it however you want. There's no arrangement for 60. Now over here, I have 70 in this case. and I'm subtracting 43. Do it in your head. Force yourself. It's the only way you'll get better. 70 minus 43. 27? And 27 fits. The 7's a little annoying, but it's not that bad. Now the one I borrowed is gone. There's nothing I'm subtracting. So I just bring it down. You do that a few times, it's not so bad. Not so bad.
So what's that final number?
I have no idea. I'm working in Babylonian. I don't convert. I don't want to convert.
Okay.
There are conversion questions that will convert. I don't want to even start thinking about that because then I'm tempted to convert, subtract, and convert back, and that's not the point. So I don't even know what that number is. I don't even care. Yeah.
On a test, would you have, like, if you were doing questions and you'd chosen to do something Babylonian, would you have, like, 2 additions or subtraction?
I am probably, I haven't set up the test. There's going to be a conversion for Roman, conversion back and forth for Babylonian. Only one of the 3 for Roman, one of the 3 for Babylonian. There's no more space in the test. But you don't know which one. It could be 2 multiplications. Let's hope not, but it could be. I just randomly picked them. So only one of each. I have to squeeze in a multiplication before it's too late. At least I have my times symbol back. Oh, sorry, that's it. I should probably move this a little bit. Not sure how much space I may need. Just not sure how much space I may need, probably not that much. So multiplication, simple one first, and then we'll do another one. 12 times, no, I want a bigger number, I'm sorry. I want some carry over. It's an easy fix, you just add another 10. 22 times 4. Again, don't use your calculator. 88. I know we haven't done mental multiplication. Let's go. 88. That is one group of 60 and 28. Oh, man. Do we have time for one? Yes, we do. Okay, one more. As you do them, think of the similarities to our decimal system, but you just can't convert. The methods are the same. Okay, let's see what we have here. Two-place system, two-place number. I have a 50 here, and I have 15 here. And I'm multiplying that by 5. Any single digit number in our decimal system. So this will only go up to 10. Maybe a 60. But nothing too fancy to multiply. And if it is too fancy, you can use a calculator. I'm just trying to help myself, help myself stay sharp by doing the little ones in my head. Okay, I'm multiplying by 5. I have 15 times 5. 75? 75. 75. That's a group of 60. And 15 left. 15 left. Then 5 times 50. And I'll start that over here, as if that's the ones column. 5 times 50. 250. How many 60s go into 250? 4. It takes a while, it takes practice. 4 groups of 60. How much is left from 250? 10 left. This one's a little more complicated. A lot more things to keep track of. But it is at the end. So the end one should be the hardest one. So I add up here, it's only this one guy. 15. Then I have an 11. Then I have a 4. And I'm done. That one you might need to slow down and practice a little more. Questions? We have to challenge ourselves a little bit. Not too much, just a little bit.
Are there a lot of examples to practice?
What do you mean by a lot? There's some.
Just the additional?
I think 3 or so at least of these. You can always make up your own.
Yeah, but then you can't, I guess you can now.
As long as you write down valid numbers, do this first. Check, you can do the conversion. And search online, there are ways to put in a decimal number and then give you this. And then you can just add them. Just search decimal to Babylonian. Alright, that is it. So unless you have any other questions. Technically it's optional homework. The only real homework is the portfolio.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Is there any other?
No, that's it. Yeah.
It's actually quite terrifying, like there are questions.
Some of them,
Never caused this, and you only
some
watch
of them there isn't enough information.
Okay, I thought I was going to say something. I was staring at it going, but at least that's over an easy answer.
But that's
Now I
important.
understand
Some
it
words,
again.
you're not reading it.
Okay, I thought I did it, but like I thought it was so bad. I was like, possibly.
Then you just say,
Yeah. Right.
What do? You just go play whatever you do.
It's like, I don't even know, like, there was so much I had to look at it, and I'd rather building, obviously. When you're that big and you're still, you make like portfolios of listing on some, and there we go. And then next is that way I.
and I've used 4 times 60 is 240.
It feels like just gonna be an issue. Thus far.
Then I have to already lined up, so I just have to. Alright.
Right.
So the Latin word multiplication is multiplicare, that's the word.
So say again?
It's multiplicare, but they don't use
Is that what
it
they
like,
use?
not like this though, like
No.
in like ecclesiastical, like church line, yes. But if you're talking like Roman,
Who knows? You need a historian. I'm not sure. They obviously had a word. They must.
For multiplication?
For each one, they have to have a word. But who knows what it is? You're a historian. Yeah.
That's a good question. This is where we put the 10 left over, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Once I multiply that column,
Yeah.
I'm starting
I don't
from
think
that
it's
column.
very
Okay, I'm not good.
Because, yeah, I have to like, there's too many yeah, I know.
Never do a test.
Alrighty.